I told Aubrey this morning I woke up middle of the night and just hearing some of the worship team's songs and prayed for all you guys. Thank you so much, and prayed for your families and children. And did you get their point this morning? Who's for you? Really? I think we're going to have to do it a few more times. God is for you, okay? I mean, guys, no matter what's going on or how it's going, you've got God, okay? No matter what. The one thing we can always depend on. And in my life, in the good times, bad times, the couple of dark desert times I've had, God was always, always, always there. And God's children around, looking out for you if you'll let them in. And we're talking about friendship. I'm Brad Kenny, a teaching pastor. Pastor Eric's out today. I'm finishing up what he started last week as we're finishing a friendship series. And then we're going to look at angels. And I saw some pretty good theology the other day. Most of our theology on angels, a lot of it's not like, you're going to die and become an angel. No. My wife loves, what's the one with the Clarence and the bell? It's a Wonderful Life. Loves it, loves it. It's a story. It's not theology, okay? We watch it every year. That's her Christmas show. My Christmas show is Where Eagles Dare. It's a family thing. So, but yeah, we get this thing of, and our angels are cute little, fuzzy bunnies. They're actually awesome and they're God's representation. It's God's messengers. It's God. I saw the new James Bond moment, like a commercial. Looks like the old one's going to be gone because missiles are coming down on them. And Archangel Michael comes down and surrounds his soldier at the end. That might be pretty good theology. Takes you to heaven. Angels. We're going to start talking about that next week. Today we're finishing up about friendship, unbreakable bonds. So Eric began part 1 in chapter 24. So you can turn, or 20. 1 Samuel chapter 20. Just leave it there for a minute. And he began that dealing with baggage. We all have baggage, good baggage, bad baggage. We have baggage in our lives, in our relationships. It all carries over, and we got to deal with all this. So David's baggage is the king wants to kill him. Jonathan's baggage is his dad, the king, wants to kill David, and they're friends. And Dad's losing his mind, and David's on the run. The king wants to kill him. And here we are, and we're going to talk about how did they maintain their friendship in that, and apply it to ours too. Friendships are not always easy. Some are, some aren't. As a pastor over the years, especially early on, we moved all the time, like 9 times in 7 years at first. You go to this ministry, this place, this mission, and you can't really keep friends. I talked to a district manager, pastor, whatever they call it in a Methodist church, and he says, we do that by intent. We don't want the churches to get too close to their pastors. We want them to remain close to each other and to the organization, not the individual pastors. So they move them every few years. Well, it's a ridiculous way to do life, and your kids are always searching for friends, and it's just lonely. And you can't really be too honest if you're a pastor. Because I can't, because I'm your pastor. It's weird. So you have to have some friends. And at this point in my life, especially when I was a police officer, I joined older, so I tended to know the older officers, connected more, our age of our kids, our interests. And so the younger ones have different interests. Well, they're retiring ahead of me and moving and off, and suddenly you're here. So I got to thinking about who are my really close friends. So I got a neighbor, has a key to my house, super trustworthy. We try to do dinner every couple of weeks. I have my wife. I have my children. I have y'all. These are my friends. You can stay in touch with people, but not really stay tight if you don't spend time. Now, in retirement, suddenly I have some more time, and my son wants see if I could help him with some projects at his house. We went down to work on his garage doors. And that's a nightmare. Don't mess with the spring. I hear that's a way to put a piece of metal through your liver. So don't do that. So it wasn't that. So his door had gotten a kink in it. So that was messing things up. And so we put some angle iron on there and fixed it, and it's rolling up and down. And then his, it's not a chain, it's a rubber belt, thank you. It's going to be one of those days, isn't it? So it's this belt that is just all chewed up. So we get off, put a new one on. We try it out, and it works. Yeah, I'm kind of like, I think it's working. And I will never forget him going, it worked. I did that with my son. That's a good day. That's someone you can work with and have fun with. That's friendship. That's doing things together. That was enjoyable. Now, some people are hard friends, so I'm going to put the next slide up. It just says best friend. We'll get to my best friend in a minute. So we're going to talk about this, but I'm going to jump away from some people are hard to have as friends. So I added this just yesterday late. So jump down to that first slide. These are hazmat slides, okay? Hazardous material placards you put on vehicles, okay? And when I was first learning about this in Police Academy, they're teaching us what these mean. So these you'll find on vehicles. Say you come up to a wreck, a fire on a vehicle or something, you look for placards like this. We'll go back to that first one again, and we'll just stay on this for a minute. So, and I remember asking the question, so how bad are they? It goes from 1 to 4. I said, well, what's the difference between 1 and 4? And I remember the instructor going, 1 just kills you slower. Okay, anything but 0 is bad if there's a fire or something going on. So next slide, what's 110 on here? So this one has it. So this would be a slightly hazardous, will burn above 200 degrees, and other than that, you're pretty good shape, okay? I also learned early on, never go past the fire department on one of these, because they keep track of exactly what it means, and I don't want to go in there and find out myself. So back to our slide again. So I'm thinking it would be nice if people had these placards on them. Okay? So here's some more of the placards. I didn't come up with a bunch of ours. So, you know, does it explode? Is it flammable? Dangerous when wet? Yeah, I want to know if you're flammable. I want to know if you can spontaneously combust. Do you burn at a low temperature or a high temperature? Because my friendship probably require a higher temperature. You know, I don't want you going off on something small. That last one on the bottom, check this one out. The next slide, it'll show it down there. Miscellaneous dangerous goods. That's one of my favorites. Wouldn't it be great if we had these? I mean, people had these on them, so you know what you're getting into, because some friendships are tough. They're just hard. And yet friendships are so valuable, and it makes life so different. Of late, recent time, it has nothing to do with any of y'all. I had a super good friend. We've been friends for a long, long time, okay? We worked through a lot of things together. And he just totally destroyed our friendship. Something irrecoverable from. I don't even know how intentional, but by not being intentional, I got all kinds of grief and problems and hassles because of that friendship, and killed it. Yeah, I still, and it still bothers me because I'd like to figure a way maybe to restore it, but it's just gone. That's hard because friends are so important, and we invest our lives in that. So now back to my best friend slide. So my best friend would be Teresa. We're coming up on 43 years of marriage now, and she's amazing. And so I talked about how many words she has last time I talked to you. So now here's a little something. I'm not going to profile who's who in your relationships, but I got a tip for you. So here's something I figured out. So Teresa, the first few weeks, you know, after she's used to me being around a little bit, she would go like, hey, did you read that news article about whatever? And I would answer truthfully, yeah, I read it. Now, she did this like for a week at different times during the days. Hey, did you check out the article about? And I would, because I glance at the news in the mornings. I go, yeah, I think I looked at that one. Okay, I'm not doing well, by the way. So then I go, why does she keep bringing up these things I've read? What? Yeah. She wants to talk about it. Discuss what we read. Yeah, I'm giving you that for free. Okay? Yeah. So I go, I did. What do you think? See, I'm not all gone yet. And she's fascinating. She has all these insights about politics and stuff and things going on. And yeah, I knew her experience in schools and all, but you're just so busy in life. I'm working, she's working, we got the church, we got the kids. You know, your conversations are pretty much in certain boxes, and that's it. We didn't talk politics. We didn't do. It's pretty cool. She's becoming more and more amazing to me. That's friendship. That's what you can depend on, folks. And it takes work, and it takes, sometimes you got to learn and change something here. All right? And friendship. So let's look at our passage today. We're going to jump in, and we're in 1 Samuel 20. This is the ancient Near East. Okay, I bring that up a lot because quit thinking today. Way back there, there's no electricity, there's no computers, there's not radio, there's no telephone, there's hardly any roads, they're just paths. Okay, and you walk places. That's how you get around. The Hebrew people are still in the Bronze Age, their enemies are in the Iron Age, so I'm sure when they beat the enemy, you might be able to get a chance to pick up an iron knife or sword or some materials, okay? And they're fighting and they're trying to take their land. Now they have their land, but they're being overwhelmed and they ask for a king. We need somebody to unite us, a united command to help us survive, all right? Who's in charge? Well, they got 12 tribes, and those tribes have clans. And the clans have their tribal leaders and their clan leaders, and it's all politics and who's in charge, and our clan's bigger than your clan, and yet we're supposed to work together to survive in this not that big of an area, okay? And yet you're still several days at best from your other groups. So they want a king. The enemy threats are all around us. And Saul becomes their first king, and Saul needs to do one thing. Unite the tribes to defeat their enemies. Survival. That's his job. He doesn't build a palace, good for him. He doesn't do any of that. He stays where he's living in his area. It's kind of a rustic, warrior kind of big home kind of environment. He stays in his place, and his job is to keep us united and beat the enemy. And he was pretty good at it when he'd do it. But that's it. He wasn't a king builder and all that. So, in this, and now we'll jump into our slides here. We're going to be looking at the unbreakable bonds between David and Saul's son, Jonathan. Next slide. So, you've already been through some of this, and I'm just going to kind of summarize. So, David is that young fellow, son of Jesse, who steps up to defeat Goliath. And he gets brought into the king's group, and Saul sees him. He's a musician. He's an interesting young man. He puts him in charge of some troops. And David winds up being a very inspiring, successful leader. And Jonathan meets David early on, not in this, I'm kind of still summarizing, and he's impressed with David. To the point, as Eric would put it, he recognized that this should be the next king, not me. Jonathan's the king's son. He's the heir to the throne. He's got it. Ancient Near East again. There's no debate on that. Okay? But he feels like it should be given to David. And they become close friends. Saul sees this as a what? A threat. His son's supposed to take over. And Saul now starts hating David. To the point where, as of now, Saul wants David dead. And Jonathan's, he's just kind of, that can't be. I mean, that can't be the truth, because look at it, he's a great guy. He's been working for you. You brought him back a couple times. He keeps defending and organizing the troops and getting successful battles for you. Dad, what is the problem? I don't get it. How could you possibly want him dead? Well, he keeps trying to kill him. So David's hiding in a field. There's a feast coming up, and this king's there, and you're supposed to eat at the king's table. David should be there. Jonathan's there. So the king sits opposite the wall, opposite his son Jonathan, the heir to the throne. Abner's next to Saul, but David's place. Nobody there. He says, hey, well, maybe something happened. He was ceremonially unclean. He couldn't come to this. Okay, but the next day, pardon me, the second day of the month, David's place was empty again. He said, hey, why hasn't son of Jesse come to the meal? Yesterday, where is he? King says, be here. Ancient Near East. It's not an option. It's not like, hey, I don't feel like going to dinner with you. You're there. It's an honor and an obligation. Next slide. So Jonathan answers, well, he asked me for permission to go to Bethlehem. Now, if you heard last week, or if you read earlier in this passage, they know Saul's hunting him. So they came up with a plan. Okay, the plan was, say you had to go to Bethlehem for a family obligation religious ceremony, and you couldn't be here. Okay? And I'll kind of feel out Dad and see if he really, really, really wants to kill you, kind of a thing. All right? That's their plan. They got it all set up. David's hiding. And again, ancient Near East, it's a small kind of village environment. Here's the big house. Here's the other houses. Here are the fields. David's hiding like right over here. But it's not like you're going to find him on some video screen or something, okay? He's just hiding over there. Lots of places to hide. So he said, yeah, so here's the story. And if I found, let him go. And that's why he's not at the king's table. I just summarized that passage. All right? Next slide. Saul's anger flared up at Jonathan and said to him, you son of a perverse and rebellious woman. He insults mom. I mean, it's really a yo mama kind of thing here. It's aimed at Jonathan, but this is a big deal. Okay? He insults his son, the heir to the throne, right there at the table with the other leaders. And I mean, come on, man. He knows you're lying. And as you would read on through Samuel, you find out, guys have been telling Saul what's really been going on. David and Jonathan meeting, they're friends. He's sworn his allegiance, and we think David's a pretty good guy anyway. And by the way, just stepping aside for a minute, I'm a kind of David fan because he winds up a king that pulls them together, but he had a lot of issues, right? I'm a big Jonathan fan. Because, man, he stayed loyal to his friendship. He was trying to do the best he could in there. He was willing to give up the throne to what he thought best was for his people, for God. So anyway, Saul sees through the lie, sees through it. Don't you sided with that son of Jesse to your own shame, the shame of your mother who bore you? There you go, your mama thing again. As long as the son of Jesse lives on earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. Now there's that jealousy. David's going to get the throne, son. Don't you get it? Now, send someone to bring me David, for he needs to die. You think Jonathan has any questions about whether he wants David dead or not? Okay? At some point, you got to quit pretending and accept reality as it is. Though it ain't right, it ain't fair, it can't even be real. It's so surreal. Dad's got to be nuts. He's serious. Next slide. Why? Why should he be put to death? What has he done? Now, Jonathan insults Dad by questioning the king at the king's own table. Go back, ancient Near East. Think of any of those old movies you've seen, okay? Dial it back. Big no-no. What does Dad do? Throws a really sharp spear at his son trying to kill him. Now, at what point do you figure out Dad's serious, John? Okay? So we got insults, we got intrigue. He's serious. He wants him dead. Then Jonathan knew that his father intended to kill David. He got from the table. He's angry, fierce anger. On the second day of the feast, he didn't eat because he grieved at the shameful treatment of David. It just ain't right. So Jonathan leaves the table, insulting further, but I'm not going to do this. And Dad knows they're friends. Next slide. In the morning, he goes to the field. He meets David. He's got this little deal where he has a small boy there and, run and find the arrows. So he sends them off on a wild goose chase. And that was part of the deal to meet up with David. So it's all in secret, but word gets out, right? Small town? Anybody from a small town? My favorite small town story. I was going to go visit a friend in Pontotoc, Mississippi. You get there along this really dark, creepy road at night. Natch Trace from Tupelo. So I drive into town, and I remember asking, where do you live? He goes, just ask somebody. Yeah, you're kidding me. I'm pulling down. There's a kid. Hey, kid, you know where this guy lives? Yeah, he lives over there. But he's not there. He's over at his girlfriend's house over there. Small town. My wife confirms that's accurate for a lot of them. So they do this deal. He goes off looking for the arrow, and Jonathan gave his weapons to the boy. He goes, just carry him back to town. Next slide. This is a deal David and Jonathan had set up so David would know Dad's serious. David got up from the south side of the stone, bows before Jonathan 3 times, honors the king's son. They kissed each other, wept together. David wept the most. He knows. Dad means it. He wants you dead. Go in peace. We've sworn friendship. with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, the Lord is witness between you and me, between your descendants and my descendants forever. Then David left, and Jonathan went back to town. He had sworn allegiance to David, and he kept that allegiance, even though if you go against the king in the ancient Near East when he wants to kill somebody, what does that mean your punishment is? Any guesses? You die, which puts Jonathan under a death sentence. I think that's the end. Is there another slide? Yeah, that was it. Okay. So, at risk of death to himself, Jonathan honors his friendship, honors what he thinks is best for his people and for God, and goes against the king. Now that's holding up a friendship. That is staying loyal. As I mentioned early on, friendships can be hard. They can be hazardous. They can hurt. And on the other hand, they're wonderful. You can talk to somebody and stand with them and be honest and fix a garage door. Or just talk. Or sit and drink coffee and say nothing. Teresa and I went on a hike. Now, post two hips, for those of you that don't know me, they've been replaced through wear and tear. So we went on a hike in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Part of the National Forest was still open even after the hurricane. And so we looked for a hike. And I went, well, this one's not bad. It goes 600 plus feet up. And, doesn't sound too bad. And you go to a waterfall. It was listed moderate. Usually those are listed easy. And we hadn't hiked for a long time. But, let's give it a shot, right? Moderate, which means hard, by the way. We don't practice inclines. I mean, this is like my biggest incline around here. So we're going to go on this. Now, I did look at the cartographic map, with the hills. So, and I didn't think a whole lot about waterfalls. I guess in my mind I thought, go up 600 feet, look at the waterfall. Waterfalls are not at the top, right? So you go up 600 feet, and then you go down 600 feet to see the waterfall. I also didn't look at the map and realize you got to do that twice to get to the waterfall. So now we're at 1,400 feet worth of inclination up and down. And once you sit at the waterfall and really enjoy it, and we're kind of tired by now, and I'm kind of done hiking by now after several miles of this, and it's been beautiful, and there are these rapids, and we're taking pictures, we're eating our snacks, and it's so wonderful. We have to go back. The same trail. So we did 3,000 plus worth of incline up and down. By the end of this thing, I'm not looking at rapids. I'm just trying to get off of this trail. But we made it. The next day we kind of chilled out. Hey, Pigeon Forge actually has forges. Like, I hammered a knife. The guy held it and told me where to whack it, but, it was fun. And we did stuff together, and we had a good time. And she's just amazing, and that's friendship. And the more you learn to trust each other and depend on each other. I would hope you're friends with your spouse. If you're not, work on that. And grow in that friendship. Because as people come and go, you never know how things are going to happen. And grow in that. And you got to be dependable for the other person. Now, I'm saying all this stuff we already know, right? But for our younger students, okay, and for our young adults here, friendships are hard, and they're going to get challenged, and you're going to get hurt, and stuff's going to come, but you keep being that friend. Now, you got to be smart about it. Sometimes somebody teaches you through their behavior that they're not trustworthy. Don't be blind to that. They're not trustworthy. Okay, there you go. Be friendly, but you probably won't keep a close friendship if they're not trustworthy. Now, how does that work for us? I need to be trustworthy. I need to be somebody that'll be there for you and stand up for you and be understanding. And what do you need as a friend? So it's a give and take kind of thing. All right? There's a risk on both sides. Jonathan and David, it's just amazing that Jonathan would stay with that friendship. The rest of the story, if you keep reading through Samuel, Jonathan will die in battle, and his father and his brother. And that will be at the end of their line, and David will eventually become king. But I'm still a big Jonathan fan. I mean, the guy just stuck with his integrity and what he thought was right, and with his sworn friendship. If you have pledged your life in marriage to someone, stay with it. Do what it takes. And there's no way you're smart enough to figure it all out. Most of the time, a few other friends and some groups and some talking can help you figure stuff out. I've also figured out that sometimes nobody knows how to help you figure it out, so you go talk to somebody who's gifted in that area and trained. And you keep working at it, and you keep learning. And there are going to be times when you are in a tunnel, and it's so dark you can barely see a candle at the end. But stay with it. Because when you come through one of those times, you've both grown and learned, and you're stronger, and you trust each other even more. Now, sometimes relationships we swear to hold to and hang and you trust, they just explode and it doesn't happen. Just do the best you can on your side of the equation. That's all we can ever do. I cannot change Teresa or make, well, actually, I could make her psychotic, I guess, or something, but I can't improve, yes, I can't, make Teresa different. Those are her choices. I can make myself different and create an environment where she can bloom and grow and trust. That's on my side. And all I can do is the best I can. That's all we can do. And at any stage in life, whatever you've been through, as Eric was talking about last week, there's baggage and things happen and sometimes it doesn't work. You start over and life changes. And so you keep standing here in integrity before God, yourself, and others, and honor friendships. Live that godly life you wish others would live with you, and you offer that. So, final little joke. We met some people at a magic show. This guy was really pretty good. If you're ever in Pigeon Forge, the magician's good. And this lady we were talking about something. Sleep came up. And it came up that I can just fall right to sleep. And she goes, my husband's the same way. He can just fall asleep at night. She goes, how do they do that? She asked my wife, and she goes, oh, my husband, ask him. And she did. She goes, how do you just fall asleep at night? Oh, I have a clear conscience. God, thank you, even for denial. And thank you for your love. Thank you for friendship with you through Christ and the forgiveness of our sins and all that separate us, that we can be truly with you. And you walk with us, and you guide us, and you empower us, and may we listen and pay attention. May we be trustworthy. May we look at others the way you look at them and love them and offer integrity and trust and friendships. And as we manage through the messiness of life, we depend on you. May we not give up even as we learn, even as we get scars. But may we keep offering the love of Christ to everyone we meet, and especially start at home. In Christ's name.